Hi Year 7, it's Miss Hayes. I've been inspired to talk to you about kindness today after I was recently subjected to kindness from somebody myself recently. It's quite embarrassing really, but I was at a local supermarket. I arrived at the till and I knew I only had a certain amount of money in my bank as I'd transferred it before shopping from another account. If I need more usually I'd just log on to my bank on my phone and transfer it, but my phone had died on the way around. When the lady said the amount, I just wanted the floor to swallow me up because I knew that I was a couple of pounds short. I inserted the card anyway and just hoped that the payment would go through. Obviously the card declined. So I started explaining to the lady what had happened and asked if I could put something back. Suddenly the person behind me in the queue said, "No, don't put anything back, pay this off your shopping, then you'll have enough in your account," pushing a £5 note towards me. She was quite insistent. I turned around and realised I actually knew who the person was and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I accepted a kind offer, thanked her again and hurried out of the shop. I messaged her later on social media saying, "Can I pay the money back into your account?" But she said no. If you see somebody in need, just pass it on. I just thought that was a lovely gesture. I've always been extremely interested really in psychology and how people behave. I studied psychology at college and my understanding of a lot of the psychologists that we learnt about was that they were out to prove that humankind is bad. I learnt about the bystander effect and how apparently 37 witnesses watched somebody get murdered right in front of their eyes without helping the victim. However, when I looked into this properly, it didn't actually happen that way. But I suppose if psychologists could make something fit with their hypothesis, then that's what they did. What is nice though is that more recently, psychologists have moved on to a much more positive view of human nature. A lady called Marie Lindegart used actual CCTV footage to build a database of videos of people in trouble and found that 90% of the time others helped out. I don't think this is a new phenomenon, I just think that bad news sells. Mean world syndrome is a term that we used to use in psychology and the news can make you depressed. Like Mr. Leonard said in his blog, sometimes turn it off. That's not to say that there aren't lots of good examples of journalism, because there are, but on the whole the news shows us bad examples of humanity most of the time. We seem to want to believe the worst sometimes when actually we need to see the best in people. An example of this is a book that I read when I was at school called The Lord of the Flies. It created a view of society saying that if we were left to our own devices, there would be chaos. It's a story of a group of young boys who find themselves alone, deserted on an island. They tried to start off a democracy, but without adults there to serve as a civilising impulse, they became quite violent and brutal. There is actually a true story of a similar situation occurring, where a group of children was stranded in Australia together for 18 months. The real Lord of the Flies, you could call it, and what occurred there was something quite different. The kids had formed friendships, there was loyalty, cooperation, and they actually remained friends for decades afterwards. But if the author would have written it this way, would it have made such a compelling and exciting read? Probably not. So what does this tell us about being kind and friendly? Is it boring? Humans are not viruses that have to destroy everything in their way. There are some examples of horrific behaviour, don't get me wrong, like Hitler and genocide. But we are one of the friendliest species in the animal kingdom. Both sides have to be considered, but we've evolved to be friendly and cooperative. I think if we assume something of people, that's what we'll get. If you assume people are kind, that's what you'll get from people. When in doubt, assume the best in others.